Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has been out for almost a month so far, so I wanted to share with you all my thoughts on the game a month later, plus after putting in almost 150 hours into the game thus far. As you're watching this video, you're going to see clips of my own playthrough filled with bugs, glitches, and other funny moments, and a few shinies that I found along the way. So let's dive right into it and go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Saying I was excited for these games is an understatement, so yeah, I'm 100% a biased Pokemon fan and I will completely admit that. But I'm trying to give you my honest thoughts on the game here as a whole through my experiences after playing for a ridiculous amount so far. To prove my biasness here, I actually showed up to my local game store at midnight to pick up the game, and I had a lot of fun doing this, which was crazy because I haven't done this in years. And I did actually, even though people weren't there, I got a lot of excitement actually going myself and picking it up, and there's something special to say about showing up to a video game store at midnight, browsing around, picking up your favorite game, and heading home to, play till 2 in the morning. But I'm here to give you my opinion on the game, so let's start with the performance. After firing the game up for the first time, I have to say this game definitely needed a few months of polish at least to really make it that special, which I'm not surprised because I know other gaming companies kind of do this and it's been a recent trend, but I'm also surprised that it's Nintendo. But Nintendo never really releases games like, I guess they did with Mario Strikers Battle League and Mario Golf Super Rush, but those were additions to the game with not having enough in there. This is a little different. Pokemon just wasn't polished enough upon release. And Nintendo takes such pride in their image and their brand and their releases and state of their games, upon release. I'm a little surprised, I guess, that they let it come out in this state, but also at the same time, I understand how big Pokemon is. It's bigger than Nintendo at this point because they needed to move merchandise, move the anime along, create movies, release Pokemon cards. Pokemon's just bigger than the game itself at this point, and it's one of the biggest franchises, so in reality, it'd be a huge hit for, both companies to delay it for any reason. That said, it isn't an excuse, and the performance is really bad. The most recent patch fixed a little bit, but the frame rate is still ridiculous and there's so many problems at the game's core, it's just not enough. The frame rate drops are a complete joke, especially in some areas. I still have a lot of issues, and still on one of the larger lakes in the game, I can't remember the name of it, but I can't even move at times, or it stutters. And perfect example, I was shining on a Dratini and I was throwing luxury balls at it because I wasn't optimizing the battle well, to be honest with you. But the game slowed down, so it took me probably 15 minutes to throw 10 Ultra Balls, or not Ultra Balls, luxury balls, probably about more than that, maybe I threw more. But my point is, it was just so slow, it's inexcusable for a game like this. And it started to hurt my eyes, to be honest, sometimes as I was going throughout the lake, and it's really frustrating. So unless I'm specifically shiny hunting that's only in that area, I don't even go to that part of the map anymore, which is kind of sad. On top of that, there were a lot of bugs and clips that I'm sure you've seen online that are honestly laughable. But what really bothers me, I would say the most out of all these glitches and bugs, is the camera panning through the walls and the ground. By no means am I a developer. I have no idea how hard or long it is to take to fix this type of stuff. But I just don't understand it. I never really experienced it this bad in a video game before, where I would avoid a hill, battling on a hill or something like that, because it's just so frustrating. I mean, it's funny at times, but other times it hits a point. It's this can't be this hard to fix. What's going on here? I would assume that's priority. That's just me. And something small with the performance too. I actually laugh at this one a lot. But it's no excuse for Nintendo Game Freak. The beginning, I'm sure you've seen online, but the intro, a frame where literally the characters T-pose in the beginning part of the game, it's so bad, and I really wish that stuff wasn't there and was cleaned up, and it should be for a big game release like this. But that said, yeah, the performance it's inexcusable. Alright, so let's step away from the performance side and dive into a few other things I disliked about the game, and these are more of just the direction Game Freak wanted to go in decision making. And the first one I'll start with are the gym challenges, and I just want these to go away at this point. I really like the concept of these, but there's literally nothing exciting about it than just battling. I just don't get it. I love the fact that it helps with the town, which I'll talk about later, kind of give it a little more charm and background and kind of what the culture of the town. I do enjoy that aspect of it, and that part I really like, but I don't want to run around and collect some floor before. Like, I want to go battle the gym. I don't want to push a bean across a hill or do yoga. What does this have to do with it? It's just infuriating, and I just want to battle. And to be honest, I don't have an answer to what this is, because like I said, there are definitely parts that I really enjoy about it. The fact that it gives culture and background to the town, but I hate the fact that the challengers are just so stupid. I want to battle. I want to, like, I don't know, do something. And I think the biggest offender, in my opinion, was the restaurant. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Other people thought others were worse that I was talking to online, but the restaurant was just so stupid. Like, why not just have us battle people at dinner or something? I don't know. Like, do something funny with that. Like, I don't want to run around the town to find secret ingredients. Like, this just... I don't get it. We'll move past that. And another item, I guess that bothered me, was Team Star. Team Star, I enjoy the concept of it, but the dialogue to me was just too much. The concept, I like that they tried something new and different. I like that they said, hey, there's going to be bases, and I don't like the execution of it, and the fact that you had to battle a car every time at the end of it. So the execution of it I didn't like, and the dialogue I didn't like, but I like the concept of them trying to push to do something different. I did really enjoy that, so I give a little bit of a pass from that front. The dialogue was just... I found myself a few times spamming A to push through it, and I'm like, no, go back, read it. Like, you don't want to ruin it. You want to, read it all and know the background and everything. And the story behind it I really enjoyed. Like, I thought it was interesting and unique and different, like I said, but I just couldn't... It was just too much dialogue for me. And I think this would have been executed a little better if the Let's Go feature was better, and to me it was really the dialogue, and the execution just wasn't fully there. But I did really appreciate and enjoy the concept of them trying something different than when a lot of the other games have in the past. The last major item was the jankiness of the Let's Go feature that I want to talk about. I love the idea of it, and I do think, like, with the mass outbreaks portion of it, like knocking 60 out to increase shiny odds, it's cool. There are better ways to do it, but to shiny hunt, but I do like the idea of it, or like leveling up quickly or knocking out a few Pokemon, but the jankiness of it is so difficult. I mean, to get the camera to line up perfectly to focus on the Pokemon that you want to knock out or battle, or it's just really frustrating. So I wish the execution of that was a little better, but I do really enjoy the concept of, hey, you could throw your Pokemon out and you can start a battle, you can just have it go, quickly knock the Pokemon out without doing a formal battle. You can lock onto Pokemon and pinpoint a Pokemon. I do like that, and it's nice. It's like a little bit of Pokemon Arceus that comes over, but also has the old school battle mechanics. So I think there's a really good balance there, that they're not all the way there, but they're almost there, if that makes sense. And that's what I appreciate about the Let's Go feature. The execution just isn't there, and that's kind of my most disappointing thing about it. So I want to get into a few nitpicks, and one of them specifically is the shiny noise. This is probably going to be a debate for people, because I know some people appreciate it, not having the shiny noise, where it was kind of how it was in the Let's Go games, where if you miss it, you miss it. And other games, you didn't really see them in the overworld besides Arceus that had the shiny noise, and I appreciate it there because it allows you not to miss one. So I think this is just a personal preference, a nitpick, like I said, but for me, I liked having the noise there, and I think part of it has to do with the fact that the frame rate is so bad at times, and the fact that they actually make Pokemon scale to size, which I really appreciate, but some Pokemon are so small, and some of the shiny forms are so not that far off in the normal colors that, like, you're just gonna miss it unless you're specifically looking for it or hunting it in particular. So like I said, back and forth. Me personally, I like the noise, so I wish it was there, but some people appreciate it not being there. If you miss it, you miss it. So that's just a personal preference on me. So another nitpick I have are the status effects. I don't know where to start with this, because the status effects I'll talk about later when I talk about Terra Raid battles. But the status effects, it slows down the pace of the game. Obviously, status effects are important, raising and lowering attack, but I don't think we need to show it every single time. It just slows the game down. It takes forever to click through at times, and I really just wish they could find a better way to do this, because I think it would just make the game that much more enjoyable. So like I said, it's a nitpick, but I think the reason it's such... I put it with the bad versus just not having it is because I'll talk about it later, the Terra Raid battles. It almost ruins the Terra Raid battles for me, paired with other things, so I just wish they found a better way to execute these. Alrighty, so let's move away from the bad and let's get into some of the positives. So I want to start with the open world. You can literally go anywhere. As soon as you're done the tutorial, I didn't realize how big the map was. The map is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. And by no means does this progress anything in terms of open world gaming. It's not the new next big thing that everyone's going to copy off of, but man, this is way bigger and better than I thought Game Freak could tackle. And I think that's why I'm so impressed. Just from that standpoint alone, that they were able to do this in the year they were given. Now, there are obviously technical issues and there's some issues from that front, but from the open world aspect, it's great. I do wish it was a bit more polished and there were maybe random houses or villages or something here and there to give it a little more charm or stuff to do rather than just being Pokemon in the open world in some areas. But overall, I really do appreciate it, and it shows me that they can handle an open world versus the small little open zone that they have in Sword and Shield. So it's a big step up and leap forward from that, and I'm really excited and appreciate that. But it just shows me more the potential that's there. And like I said, I want like more houses and villagers and villages and stuff like that around the open world. But I just found myself just being like, I don't want to do the story. I just want to go find this Pokemon. I want to see if I can get here. What Pokemon are around here? And that's what I mean by Pokemon's its own distraction. Like, I was being so distracted from the story and other things that I wanted to do because I wanted to explore the world. And it's just, that's what makes Pokemon great. And you could see the huge potential here. So it's a huge positive for me. There are some small negatives, like I wish they did some things a little better, but it just shows me that they can handle it. And I think the game either needs more time to develop this, to make it that like perfect Pokemon game, which they're not going to get, or they need to just work out some of the kinks and cracks and bring on some more people to work on the game with all that money they generate from Pokemon to kind of smooth the game out. And I know I kind of touched on it a little bit in terms of I wish there were more towns and villages, and the reason for that is because the next positive I had are the towns themselves. You get NPCs with basic tutorial and dialogue just like any Pokemon game, and you still can't really go in any stores. I mean, it just brings up a standard menu in stores and shops, but the towns themselves have a lot of character and charm to them, and they're all unique, and I really appreciate that. Like, you can kind of see how the gym revolves around the culture of the town, and like I said, the one positive with the gym challenges is it brings a little culture from that standpoint. And some of the NPCs do talk about some things that are going on. So it's like, I really appreciate that. And I love that about previous Pokemon games that like Sword and Shield just didn't have. There was one town I liked and it had like 4 buildings in it. Yes, you can't go in everything, and I get it. You can only do so much with a game with so much time to develop it. But what I loved about it is I felt like immersed in that town. Like, I felt like I got to a town. I felt like I got somewhere. It wasn't just the next stop on my list. It was like, wow, this huge city, like it has, I love the music, it tailors to the town. Some of the NPCs talked about some stuff going on. The gyms definitely had that culture and the perception that town's trying to give off. I just felt like in a town, in Pokemon, in that specific town, and each town was different, and the culture and the polish it had to do with being immersed in some of that, just it made me really excited, and I really appreciated that some of the older games had that some of the newer games kind of got away from. So it was definitely a big positive for me. Next, I want to talk about hand-holding. Sword and Shield, the hand-holding was atrocious. It was so bad. To me, this game, it didn't have that much hand-holding. The tutorial piece beforehand, before you get your ride Pokemon, is so frustrating, so annoying, and I feel like you're sitting there just spamming A at times. It makes me not want to replay the game, to be honest, like start a new save file. But once you get past that, the hand-holding to me is just not there. I talked about some of the dialogue with Team Star being long. I think their sections with dialogue is a little too long. Although I do really enjoy the story in this game, the dialogue can be a little long. But the hand-holding part of it is almost not there at times, and maybe it's just because it was broken up so much. Maybe that's the answer if you disagree, but I found myself when I was doing this story, besides the gym battles and the long dialogue with Team Star, I was just excited to go do it. So to me, it was really nice to have all that hand-holding that I had before. I just wish the dialogue, like I said, was a little bit less, and the gym challenges weren't so ridiculous, or else to me it would have been like the perfect balance. But the lack of hand-holding definitely was awesome. And in my opinion, raised a little bit of the difficulty in my eyes, which kind of goes on to my next thing. Look, you can build a team with proteins, you can EV train, IV train, you can do all that. And if you do that, no Pokemon game is going to be hard because Pokemon's not tailoring to you. And I wanted a game more difficulty. This game isn't the most difficult Pokemon game I've played, but I love that you can do everything out of order. Since there's no hand-holding, you can do everything kind of at your own pace in the order you want to do it. It allows you to go and walk somewhere else and be completely out-leveled and outmatched and just get destroyed and then be like, okay, you know what, maybe I should go and come back to this later. And that happened to me a few times. So I did appreciate that about it. If I were to play through it again, you obviously kind of know the order after, so you're probably not going to do it that way, so the difficulty might be a little easier. But from my experience in doing everything out of order and just exploring and popping up in a town or gym challenge and just trying to do it, it made the game a little more difficult for me. So I appreciated that, at least for the first time playthrough. I might revisit my answer to this as I go through a second playthrough, but I do appreciate that. Something else I really enjoyed about this game as a huge positive is the story. The story definitely mixed things up, and if you haven't played through it, I don't want to ruin it. But the ending, there were a few times, there were a few laughing points, there were a few things I'm like, well, this is obvious, and it was just different. The one storyline with, I don't want to give anything away, but with the Titans, that storyline, the first section where it ends off, I was like super emotional. I was like, oh my god, this is actually a really cool story. And then the second, I guess the total end part of the story is, there were a few times I've laughed and there were a few times I was like, oh my god, that's actually really upsetting. So I just, like I said, I don't want to give anything away, but what I really appreciate, I felt like the story was different in this versus other games. A little more realism, I guess, to it, maybe is the word. I'm not sure how to really describe it, but I did really appreciate the story. It was different than just the standard Pokemon story, which I enjoyed a lot. So I definitely, hats off to Game Freak, because I felt like this was probably one of the better, if not best, Pokemon stories I think I've had. So the last item I want to talk about here are the Terra Raid battles. And the reason this is last is because, in my opinion, it's good and bad. I have a huge love-hate relationship with these Terra Raid battles. I love that they're a lot quicker, and you don't need to wait move by move each player to be turn-based like that from that standpoint, like the Dynamax battles. But it's also, both of these are the same reason that I also hate them at the same time, because it just isn't executed or done well. Waiting for people to complete their turn, because you kind of get like 2 turns, but people attack at the same time. It's weird. But sometimes you find yourself waiting for other people to go, where the game just stalls out. And I don't know if that's because it's online, but even offline, I've had that happen a few times. And it goes early with the status moves, the status effects. I talked about it earlier, but the Terra Raids, this is where I get super frustrated. Because you just sit there and watch time trickle down as you're literally lowering defenses, lowering special attack, healing, and it's just unnecessary. Like, the frustration builds there when you're in a 6 to 7 star raid, and you're waiting to attack, and you're spamming A on like just over a certain move, and it's just frozen, or you're waiting for status effects to go down, and like half the time I don't even know what's going on. I don't know whose turn it is. It's just too much. And part of me thinks the solution is, well, maybe they should just add time, but I also think that would make the Terra Raid battles way too easy. And I think that's what makes me super back and forth about it, because there are times I feel like these raids are way too easy and I blast through them, 5 to 6 star raids. And there are other times I just think they're too difficult, like the actual, what's it called, the defense that comes up, like that buff that they put up randomly. Like, it's sometimes so painful to get through, and it's frustrating. It's just, you could tell I'm conflicted here. I really don't know, because there's so much I love about this and so much I hate about it at the same time. And if you really want to grind Pokemon out, you know, if you want to grind money through like nuggets and rewards, or if you want to, you know, shiny hunt and you want the stuff to shiny hunt, or you want, just the items that they drop are great. But the fact you have to go through, and sometimes you're just frozen looking at a screen watching the time, there's nothing you can do about it, and you lose the battle, you're like, wow, I just wasted 10 minutes of my life. It's just, it's a pain. So I don't know where to put these, because I think it's such an improvement off of the Dynamax adventures, but also such a downgrade at the same time. It's frustrating, and I don't know the solution to fix this, and I don't know if it's fixable at this point, but it's just a great concept. Like, also the ability to switch your type, it can be a huge game changer. Having unique Pokemon with unique Terra types in those raids are a great way to get them and catch them, but I think most people would rather just grind out the actual shards for them, and then, like, you know, switch your Terra type on the Pokemon they've already trained up, not in a battle, so, you know, they get from a Terra Raid battle. So I don't know the answer to this, but it's you can see I'm still conflicted, but that's kind of my take on the Terra Raid battles. So currently the game is sitting at a 72 and 73 on Metacritic, and if you take a look at my Reef rating, my short, I gave it a 9.1 out of 10. and I think they're both right depending on how you want to approach it. The game without any bugs or issues is easily the best Pokemon game, at least in my opinion there is, and really moves the franchise a huge step forward. But that said, the technical state is kind of inexcusable and so bad in some areas, it can be unplayable to certain people. I'm super biased with Pokemon and I've sunk about 130 hours already into this game, so my score is biased and based on my opinion and my experience with the game, and also a lot of the bugs, although frustrating, I would just laugh at half of the time. So the 9.1 to me is justified, and I think a lot of people will, be on that scale who feel the same. But at the same time, other people, it's going to be so unplayable and frustrating as a technical state that they think it's a 60 or 70, and I can't disagree with them. They're totally right, and if that's how you feel, you have every right to feel that way. But I would totally recommend this game to anyone who wants to get back into Pokemon or was looking for the next big thing for Pokemon to try something new. This is definitely that game. After talking your ear off for quite a while here, please feel free to like and subscribe if you like videos like this, and thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments your opinion on the game. Let me know if you agree or disagree with some of my likes and dislikes, and some of the things you like and dislike about the game. I always do try to respond, so I really like hearing from you guys. Thanks so much for watching.